Cave 9 of the Yungang Grottoes was carved during the prosperous Tai-He reign of the Northern Wei dynasty, under the joint rule of Emperor Xiaowen and Empress Dowager Feng. In this cave's antechamber, the timeless tale of the Sayama Jetaka has stood on the walls for over a millennium. The story portrays the devoted Sayama, who selflessly cared for his elderly blind parents. Tragically, Sayama met his untimely demise when he was drawing water at the river and was accidentally shot by a king who was out hunting. Overwhelmed with grief, his parents mourned his loss.
这不是哭天喊地的形状在这里。然后下边的故事呢，在后头。后头那一幅呢，就是说善子在去世了，已经死掉了。于是呢，国王领着善子的父母亲到善子身边去看他，那是那一幅。以后呢，全部风化了。
Upon learning of Sayama's filial devotion, the Buddha was deeply moved and dispatched a heavenly king to grant him rebirth through a miraculous medicine. The king, touched by Sayama's story, embraced the virtue of filial piety and propagated it throughout his kingdom. Filial piety, the paramount virtue in Han culture, was thus engraved within these royal grottos of the once nomadic Xianbei. What, then, can these cultural symbols tell us about the political situation of that era? The man knocking on the desk inside his room is Hu Yuanshun. He is a retired soldier who used to play the trombone in the military band. The military base was not far from Datong, and by chance, Hu Yuanshun came across Yungang gongs and drums performances.
鼓非常的有震撼力，是木国音大破天门阵，出来非常震撼，我就觉得好像很震撼灵魂的那种感觉。
After retiring from the army, Hu Yuanshun did not return to his hometown in Hunan. Instead, he chose to play the Yungang gongs and drums. The origin of this art form dates back to the Northern Wei dynasty, when the Yungang Grottoes were excavated. The Xianbei people, who ruled the Northern Wei dynasty, had a great fondness for music and dance. Even the formidably iron-willed Empress Dowager Feng was no exception. One day, in the year 481 AD, the 39-year-old Empress Dowager Feng, the woman who had been the power behind the throne for 16 years, received long-awaited news from the battlefront. Her Northern Wei army had decisively defeated the southern Qi in the area of today's Henan province. Nearly 30,000 southern Qi soldiers had been captured, and the southern Qi were keen to sue for peace. Skillful diplomacy ensured that the peace lasted for over a decade. It was during this time that the Yungang Grottoes saw a significant increase in the representation of the two Buddhas sitting side by side. Each pair of seated Buddhas sharing strikingly similar features and expressions. The political significance of the two Buddhas sitting side by side was quite apparent, symbolizing Emperor Xiaowen and Empress Dowager Feng, who wielded control over the young emperor. Wang Heng, a research fellow at the Yungang Grottoes Academy, has meticulously counted the jewel-seated Buddha sculptures in these variously sized grottos. They total 365 in number, making them the most abundant type of depiction across the Yungang complex. Historical records claim that Empress Dowager Feng often had ministers narrate the history of generations of Xianbei rulers to Emperor Xiaowen, She informed him of the tragic fates of these outstanding rulers, most of whom died young or met untimely deaths, leading to unrest and instability within their states and regimes. Moreover, the Empress Dowager wrote multiple critical articles specifically for Emperor Xiaowen, highlighting the various standards a ruler should uphold, with the hope that he would implement a policy of governance through culture and further absorb Han culture into his regime. Empress Dowager Feng thus exerted a strong influence on the young emperor, so it is not difficult to interpret the meaning behind the Sayama Jataka story in Cave 9, extending beyond Buddhism as an expression of respect and obedience from a son to his mother. The founding emperor of Northern Wei, Turba Gui, wanted to establish a system of succession similar to that of the Han Chinese. To prevent interference from the imperial harem, he implemented a cruel system of killing the crown prince's mother. Turba Gui executed consort Liu, the mother of the crown prince Turba Se, and later, after Turba Se took the throne, he executed consort Du, the mother of the crown prince Turba Tao. Similarly, when Turba Tao assumed power, consort He, the mother of the crown prince Turba Huang, was also executed. However, the emperors of Northern Wei never anticipated the emergence of Empress Feng, a powerful political figure, after the death of Emperor Wencheng, which established the open practice of an Empress Dowager holding real political power. This was also depicted symbolically in the Yungang Grottoes.
从现实意义上讲的是文成帝去世之后，献文帝继位。当时献文帝很小，于是焚太后垂帘听政。当献文帝逊位以后，孝文帝继位，孝文帝更小，焚太后继续垂帘听政。于是在中国北魏政治上出现了两位掌持政权的圣主，一位是太后，一位是皇帝，在政治上形成二主这个共同执政这个局面。
In 483 AD, Emperor Xiaowen was already 16 years old. In that year, Empress Dowager Feng, or strictly speaking, the Grand Empress Dowager, used the excuse of tradition to coerce the emperor into killing his favorite concubine, who had just given birth to a crown prince. She repeated her ploy of taking the new crown prince under her care and firmly controlling the young emperor. A strong ruler in her own right, Empress Dowager Feng employed drastic measures to drive societal change. The reforms were known as the Tai-He reforms, taking place in the Tai-He period of Emperor Xiaowen's reign. In the winter of 483, Empress Dowager Feng first implemented a trial measure to suppress the Xianbei marriage customs by issuing a decree prohibiting marriage between individuals of the same surname. At that time, the Xianbei people still retained remnants of their ancient clan marriage system, which included practices such as incestuous marriages, early marriages, and particularly marriages between siblings or cousins. The Empress Dowager further issued an edict granting salaries to officials who had previously relied on bribery or looting to make a living. The edict also stated that if an official were to accept the salary and then engage in further acts of embezzlement, such as taking an extra piece of cloth or a sheep, they would be subjected to the severest punishments. The decline in warfare since Emperor Taiwu's time meant that their rewards from the emperor diminished to the level that some officials could no longer maintain their comfortable lifestyle. This meant that some resorted to extortion and bribery, creating a dark period in Chinese history for official corruption. Historical records indicate that when some officials took up positions in prefectures and counties, they arrived with only one horse, but when they left, they had 10 carriages. This was especially true for those who were close relatives of the royal family and enjoyed special privileges. After a series of strict measures and reforms, the political situation in the Northern Wei dynasty underwent significant improvements, which were also reflected in the Yungang Grottoes. Approximately 11 caves were excavated during the joint rule of Empress Dowager Feng and Emperor Xiaowen. Compared to the earlier caves, there were enormous changes in both the form and the craftsmanship. During this period, immensity and simplicity, as observed in the previous caves, were replaced by an exquisite and delicate style. Caves 7 and 8 are a pair of twin caves with symmetrical structural features, reflecting the political structure of the Northern Wei dynasty. Despite severe weathering and the ravages of time, these two caves still reveal the dazzling beauty that once existed there. Whether it is the statues of the 6 offering devas or the 6 beauties, as referred to by art historians, carved on the arches of their respective rear chambers, or the 3-headed 6-armed Mahesvara, the 5-headed 6-armed Kumara, and the Bodhisattva on the window, all are exquisite examples of ancient Chinese sculpture. Along with the Sinicization of the Xianbei society and politics, the Sinicization of the Yungang Grottoes in design became more apparent. This caisson ceiling, for example, with flying apsaras holding lotuses in the center, is a roof structure commonly used in Han ethnic wooden architecture. Its presence in the Yungang Grottoes, in place of the patterns of domed roofs inspired by the yurts of the Xianbei people in the previous period, denotes a connection between the cave's aesthetics and the changing times of that era. The western sides of caves 7 and 8 appear spacious and open. There are a total of 5 caves excavated here, namely caves 9 to 13. Due to decoration and painting carried out during the Liao, Jin, and Qing dynasties, they formed a magnificent ensemble. Chinese people often refer to them as a collective, the Wu Hua Caves. The wooden pavilions outside the Wu Hua Caves imitated the architectural structures of the Northern Wei dynasty and were rebuilt by the Datong municipal government in 2015 to protect the sculptures inside the caves. The original front wall of the Wu Hua Caves adopted a structure similar to ancient Greek temples, with colonnades and openings, which facilitated lighting and reduced the dampness caused by water seeping into the caves. They also facilitated the transportation and cleaning of the stone during the excavation of the caves. Greek architectural influences are evident throughout the Wu Hua Caves. For example, the supporting pillars of the niches on both sides of the door and window in Cave 9 exhibit the Ionic style commonly used in ancient Greek temple columns. This is evidence of the mutual influence of Buddhist art and Hellenistic art from the Gandhara region. The east and west walls of the antechamber in Cave 9 are structured with 2 lower Buddha niches and 1 upper palace, creating a very stable and harmonious composition. Passing through the arched doorway adorned with a mani jewel carving, you enter the rear chamber of the cave, where you find a seated Buddha statue. Severe erosion means that the essence of Cave 9 is now mostly found in the antechamber. The door is carved with the delicate and intricate components typical of an ancient Chinese palace. The palace's crossbeams depict dancing figures in various postures, as if reborn in the Pure Land. Beneath these dancing figures there are highly complex floral patterns and lotus ornaments. On the sides of the door there are, again, the carvings of 2 Buddhas sitting side by side above and a cross-legged Maitreya Bodhisattva below. Cave 10 is a twin of Cave 9, whose main sculptures are the two Buddhas sitting side by side. While overall identical to Cave 9, Cave 10 has its own unique features. For example, the beam on the north wall of the antechamber in Cave 10, between the arched door and window, does not depict a palace as in Cave 9, but instead showcases the Buddhist sacred mountain, Sumeru. Within a confined area of less than 3 meters in length and less than 2 meters in width, there are undulating mountains, ancient trees, and animals. The result is equally exquisite to what is found in Cave 9. Among the intricate floral patterns are 6 lotus decorations carved with layered petals. Cave 9 and Cave 10, resplendent with jewel-seated Buddhas, reflect the political landscape during the Northern Wei dynasty's Tai-He period. Outside the caves, Empress Dowager Feng and Emperor Xiaowen were furthering their reforms, including the equal field system, which was to have a profound impact on later Chinese history. Under the Northern Wei dynasty in northern China, genuine villages were rare. Instead, there were fortifications and earthwork enclosures housing dozens or even hundreds of households. The chiefs of these strongholds possessed their own armed forces and controlled vast tracts of land. These chieftains, with their military and economic power, ruled their respective territories, often with impunity. In 485 AD, the power bases of these local lords were shattered when Empress Dowager Feng and Emperor Xiaowen issued a decree. The decree attacked the inequality between the rich and the poor, stating that the emperor wished for peace and prosperity for all the people. Therefore, the fields across the entire realm were to be divided equally among the ordinary people, creating the famous equal field system. The Tai-He reforms brought stability to the long-troubled Northern dynasty, paving the way for a new prosperity and an age of magnificent creation. The Xianbei people, imbued with self-assurance and a spirit of inclusivity, underwent a remarkable transformation, giving rise to a distinctive and boundary-pushing artistic expression. The central pillar of Cave 11 in the Yungang Grottoes, according to archaeologists, was carved in the later Liao dynasty. Carved in the pillar is one Buddha flanked by 2 retinue bodhisattvas who have slender figures and beautifully adorned attire. The details of their attire are clear and lifelike, while their facial expressions exhibit a calm and simple demeanor, expressing confidence and nobility. On the western wall, beneath an eve-shaped niche measuring nearly 8 meters, carvings depict Buddha Sakyamuni and the 6 Buddhas of the past, recalling the extensive history of Buddhism. The Wei stelae style calligraphy is a new style that borrows from both the clerical script and regular script. People often associate the style with the stone inscriptions in the Long Mun grottos in today's Luoyang. However, the true origin of the Wei stelae style lies in Pingchang. During the reign of Emperor Tai Wu, Sui Hao and others were commissioned to compile the history of the Northern Wei, resulting in a 30-volume book. They had the history engraved on stone stelae and placed them on both sides of the main road. What they engraved on the stelae was very likely in the earliest form of Wei stelae style. Sui Hao did not anticipate that the history he compiled would prove so controversial and lead to his own downfall and execution. However, the Wei stylized style calligraphy continued to flourish, gaining popularity across northern China. There are currently 31 inscriptions from the Northern Wei dynasty in the Yungang Grottoes. The inscription on the upper southern end of the eastern wall of Cave 11, dating back to 483 AD, is the earliest and longest inscription in the grottos. Its calligraphy embodies a sense of simplicity and antiquity, skillfully blending the rugged and vigorous characteristics of the Northerners with a refined elegance of Confucian culture. The dynamic strokes showcase the versatility of the writing style. It is a true masterpiece, exemplifying the beauty and essence of the Wei stylized style. As an ethnic group that originally had no writing system, the Xianbei, while learning and adopting Chinese characters, didn't adhere rigidly to traditional styles. Instead, they confidently developed a new script. Cave 11 left an early imprint of Northern Wei style calligraphy, but right next to it, Cave 12 showcases the musical atmosphere of that era. Some even call Cave 12 the Music Cave, where vibrant dances and soaring melodies show a vivid picture of musical life over 1,500 years ago. At the top of the northern wall in the antechamber, there is a row of 14 celestial musicians holding various instruments. They reside within the niches in the heavenly palace, delighting in the melodies of the music. Among the instruments are flutes like the wind instrument, qiang flute, and panpipe, percussion instruments like the waist drum and centered circular film drum, and plucked instruments like the Chinese lute pipa, Chinese zither zhang, and banjo. These instruments originate from many different regions like the Central Plains, Western Liang, Kucha, and India. With their diverse expressions and wide variety of instruments, the musicians form an array of orchestral scenes.
这是一个比较特殊的乐队组合，它的特殊在什么地方呢？就是在一个乐队里边啊，我们看到用了3支细腰鼓，而且它有大有小，还有中号的。如果鉴于在一个组合里头啊，使用3支鼓，而且鼓的形制啊都不一般大，这样的编制呢，它有它特定的在音色上头啊，有特定的一些考虑，就说是不是已经考虑到这种正鼓合鼓，就是说是有一种合音的这样的音色分配。
This grand orchestra not only boasts complex instrumentation, but also features a conductor.
最有意思呢是这一分，这就是我们平时啊大家习称的叫指挥。他在这个乐队里头啊，只有他没有拿乐器，但是他是扭腰，爽胯，整个的身体啊是一个舞蹈的一个状态，双手啊合掌，2个食指啊相搏击，他是在做一个弹指的动作。这应该说是一个秋瓷舞蹈的一个典型特点，就是弹指。中国古代弹指为节，是依靠弹指发出声音呢，作为这个庞大乐队的一个指挥者。
Although the musical imagery of Cave 12 represents a bygone era, it has left a profound and lasting legacy for future generations. Hu Yuanshun visits the rehearsal room almost every day to practice playing the drums. He lived in Datong for over 20 years, where he married and set up a drum society. His goal is to preserve the art of Yungang gongs and drums for future generations.
曲目达到上千套的曲目，光套曲就是144套大套曲，每一个套曲能达到40多分钟。小曲子吧，就是好几百个，它是多声部、多层次，像交响乐似的同时出现。 前中国音乐学会主席吕巨老先生曾经赞美它就是交响乐，就锣鼓交响乐，称其为锣鼓交响乐。我觉得他这个说法是一点也不为过。
The rhythm of Yungang gongs and drums alternates between slow and fast, creating a captivating and overlapping effect. In the midst of these rhythms, one can sense the echoes of the distant and tumultuous history of the Northern Wei dynasty. Sometimes Hu Yuanshun visits the Yungang Grottoes, particularly Cave 12, to re-experience the glory days of Yungang gongs and drums performance.
老师跟我说，这个鼓大约起源于北魏时期，北魏距今1400多年的历史。像在我们云冈石窟第12窟的音乐窟中，我们就看到好多打击乐器，跟我老师这个鼓是非常相像的、近似的。你看我手上拿的这个鼓，就跟这个鼓是非常相似，啊，这个就感觉他们是一脉相承吧，应该是这样式的。
Standing in the music cave, Hu Yuanshun feels a profound sense of responsibility. Regardless of the circumstances, he believes it is his duty to pass down the ancient Yungang gongs and drums art to future generations.
开始的时候我只是喜欢，到最后我就觉得这是我的责任跟义务，我必须去这么做，因为这个是个中国好几千年的文化，如果说它流传不下去，我觉得我的罪很深很大，是这么想的。我一直也想把它传下去，这个鼓往下传流传。
Melodious tunes fill the air as graceful dancers move with ease. Inside Cave 12, amidst the mesmerizing musical performances, captivating dances take center stage. The cave's ceiling comes alive with celestial beings, dancing in harmony with the music, messengers from the Buddhist realm, appearing when the Buddha imparts his teachings at their zenith. Countless exquisitely sculpted dancing figures immortalize unique dance movements, forever etched as symbols of eternal motion. This is Cave 12, a blooming flower of music and dance carved onto stone. In the Datong Song and Dance Theatre, actors are busy rehearsing for a dance drama called Yungang, a grand Buddhist ceremony. The show draws inspiration from the magnificent grottoes.
咱们这次拍的那个云冈活国盛典，咱们的祭月天就是从这边的元素，考证下来的。
我这次在剧里面扮演的是一个祭月天，就是庆祝的时候，就乐师，相当于我扮演就是那个，我今天在这找见了弹琵琶的那个。今天我是第一次近距离这么近看见我跳的这个原型，我觉得给我感觉挺震撼的，因为我以前没有见过，而且它这些颜色呀什么的，而且它那种动作和那种神态，给了我挺多启发，所以我觉得我一定要把它演得更好。
These dancing figures etched into the stone from over 1,500 years ago directly inspire today's actors. The grottoes feature many unique and intriguing dance poses, their origins not entirely clear to the performers. However, the various dance movements have a spellbinding effect on them. During the Northern Wei dynasty, young women performed dances similar to those we see today, with vigorous movements originating from Kucha and Liangzhou, which were introduced to Pingchang alongside Buddhism.
成得非常好。咱们现在呢，就完成这一段驯马，未来随时在。
The dance drama narrates the epic tale of the fierce and fearless Xianbei, founding the illustrious Northern Wei dynasty and creating the magnificent Yungang Grottoes. As part of the drama, a scene titled Horse Taming has been designed to showcase the splendor of dance. It symbolizes the indomitable spirit and prowess of the Xianbei. In history, Empress Dowager Feng was adept at ruling over both the people and the emperor, much like the skillful handling of horses. In January of 486, at the age of 44, Empress Dowager Feng finally entrusted the 19-year-old Emperor Xiaowen with the official affairs of the state. Supported by Empress Dowager, the emperor continued his pursuit of Sinicization, challenging lingering Xianbei customs. The focus of the reform this time was the attire of the officials. They were to adopt a loose gown with a wide girdle, known as Han-style loose gown with wide girdle attire. Originally, this dress was worn by revered figures in the 3rd century. Although not very practical for everyday use, it exuded a sense of dignity and elegance. Empress Dowager Feng and Emperor Xiaowen both approved of this attire.
太和10年，服装改革，服制改革，这个服制改革对中国石窟影响深远而巨大。皇帝穿上当时南朝的服装上朝，朝鲜外国、万国各国使者到太医殿觐见皇帝，皇帝穿上南朝的服装，所以太和10年服装改革以后，在云冈石窟马上就有反应。
The preferences of the royal family strongly influenced Buddhism as well. In Cave 16, one of the first 5 caves excavated, the main statue was dressed in the Han-style Bao Yi Bo Dai attire. As time passed, this style of dress became widespread in the Yungang Grottoes.
云冈石窟汉族化，佛教造像汉族化，给佛像穿上了中国的服装。 宽大的服装，印度的服装太右肩，很热嘛，天气暖和，它必须把这个肉露出来，它才凉快的，才舒服的。到了中国不行啊，到中国你必须有改造，所以这个袒右肩的服装有所改造，把这儿就遮了一下。啊，后来呢，又有了另一种做法，叫偏衫，啊，偏衫。 这个欧洲的衣服呢通肩，但是呢，它那种材料啊比较飘逸，比较柔软，所以呢贴身的。它欧洲人呢讲究还是那个身材的美，那种曲线，还要把这个身材塑造出来。中国不是这样，中国那种薄衣薄带，宽大。
Huang Yong is a fashion designer. In recent years, as people have embraced the resurgence of traditional culture, he has been receiving an increasing number of orders for traditional Chinese-style clothing, with customers' demands becoming more diverse.
一个是中国传统元素，一个是佛教元素，一个是国际流行的趋势。
Seeking a creative breakthrough, Huang Yong decided to visit the Yungang Grottoes.
哎，你看这些都有眼珠啊？对，好像是有，应该是有，可能掉了。
看那个，你看最边上，这一个凤凰的尾巴。对，凤凰是吧？哎呀，我觉得特别好。
At the Yungang Grottoes, various styles of clothing are on display, including Indian, Greek, Xianbei, and Han garments, a blend of cultures and designs, which ignite fresh ideas for Huang Yong and his team.
看到那个贴金的大佛的时候呢，有灵感了，在他的胸部往下的一个位置有一个像莲台又像莲花的东西，这是我在很多佛像当中没有看到的，运用到我们这个男装的这个里头。第一幅啊，那天我相信我这次设计出来的东西，对于我以前的东西应该有一个，不说突破吧，至少有一个补充。这是我觉得这次来的特别大的一次收获。
The charm of the Yungang Grottoes continues to influence us even today. Starting with the open-ridged collar slanted over the left shoulder, the statues carved during the Tai He period at Yungang Grottoes gradually began to show more of the Han Chinese feature of a lean and delicate countenance. This was in contrast to the round and plump appearance of foreign Buddha figures. During the 3rd century AD and 6th century, Han literati pursued elegance, detachment and uniqueness. They admired delicacy and refinement in appearance. The Han Chinese feature of a lean and delicate countenance depicted figures as slender and lean. Representative painters of this style were Liu Tanhui and Gu Kaizhe. Influenced by the Central Plains culture, the later Buddhist statues at Yungang Grottoes also started to reflect this style.
后来就是连面部的神情也变得不一样了。最初的西来的想法是，永港的所有形象都是喜悦的，胖乎乎的脸，然后笑容可掬。但是后期的造像呢，逐渐变得严肃了起来。脸条也瘦了，脖子也长了，神情也变得孤傲了。这就我觉得是中国传统的一些思想，特别是可能从道教的一些信仰渗入到了佛教造像之中。
Cave 13 is the last numbered cave among the Wuhua caves and the westernmost cave in the central area. The biggest statue in Cave 13, measuring 13.5 meters in height, is the 7th tallest statue at Yungang Grottoes. Though heavily weathered, the majority of the statue is still covered with clay and coloured paint, offering a glimpse of its original splendour and grandeur, especially from its elaborate clothing details. The artisans skillfully designed a guardian figure supporting the Buddha's massive arm. In the middle of the southern wall in Cave 13, there is a row of standing statues depicting 7 2-meter tall Buddhas. Yun Xiaozhong, a research fellow at the Yungang Grottoes Academy, made an intriguing discovery while conducting a cataloguing check on the relics.
对到这7佛的，就是东边这2佛的时候呢，我就发现这2个佛的面容呢，和其他5宗立像的面容呢不一样。这宗佛头呢，我们可以看一下它的面部特征呢，它是具有写实性的，就是和真人的面部特征相接近了。那么额头和鼻子呢，也不像前5身那个立佛的那样直挺成破的那种犍陀罗风格。这个就引起了我的兴趣，继续观察。慢慢观察之后呢，发现这2个佛头呢是后来镶上去的。从的这个佛的这个下壳这个地方有明显的粘接的。佛头的后边呢，我们可以看到是离开这个墙壁的，佛跟佛身不是一体的，这就更增加了我的疑惑，这是什么时候镶上去的？为什么要镶这2个佛头呀？这2个佛头是什么身份呀？
Yun Xiaozhong continued his meticulous examination and found that these Buddha heads were perfectly restored but had a different style from the other 5, which followed the typical Northern Wei style with Gandharan characteristics. The two Buddha heads displayed a stronger sense of realism, a style that became prevalent after the thorough Sinicization of Buddhism during the Tang dynasty. After researching the restoration records of the Yungang Grottoes from the post-Northern Wei era, Yun Xiaozhong believed that the restoration of these two Buddha heads most likely occurred during the time of the Liao dynasty emperor Daozong in the 11th century.
而且呢，我们在这个窟内，就是同时在南壁的西侧，我们发现了辽代辽人的一个造像题记。这个题记里边明确的记载了，就是契丹人和汉人，官吏和家属，有男有女的，就是一共修了1870宗像。
Not far from the Yungang Grottoes, there is the Huayan Temple, also built in the Liao dynasty during Emperor Daozong's reign. By this time, Buddha statues had already undergone Sinicization. In Yun Xiaozhong's view, the artistic features of the two restored Buddha heads in Cave 13 were strikingly similar to those of the Buddha statues in the Huayan Temple. Additionally, one of these heads resembled a male figure, while the other a female.
这个男性的面宽啊，嘴大啊，还有这个耳朵长呀，而这个女性呢，鼻子小呀，嘴也小呀，很明显的这种男女之相。
Since the Northern Wei dynasty, integrating the image of the rulers into Buddha statues had become a common practice. During Emperor Daozong's reign, it was highly probable that the restored Buddha heads symbolized Emperor Daozong himself, and the female head might have been a representation of his empress, Xiao Guanyin. Xiao Guanyin married Emperor Daozong at the age of 4, and as she grew older, became known for her singing and dancing, earning much affection from the emperor. Unfortunately, she was later falsely accused and killed by Emperor Daozong. Many years later, when the truth was revealed, Emperor Daozong regretted his actions deeply. Perhaps at the emperor's behest or the decision of a few artisans, they carved a feminine face and placed it as the empress beside the statue representing Emperor Daozong. Since Buddha statues became a symbol of rulers, Yungang Grottoes became a source of intriguing court stories. It seems that behind each standing Buddha there are countless hidden tales. In the spring of the year 489, Emperor Xiaowen and Empress Dowager Feng went on a tour. It was Empress Dowager Feng's birthday, and the grandmother and grandson travelled together, presenting a harmonious pairing. Empress Dowager Feng was then 47 years old, and at the same time, two conjoined caves were being carved out in Yungang, namely Cave 5 and Cave 6. Entering through the main entrance of Yungang Grottoes today, climbing the stone steps and passing through the mountain gate, two 4-story wooden pavilions come into view. These are Cave 5 and Cave 6. The wooden pavilions were constructed in 1651 by Viceroy Tongyang Lian. With vermilion pillars and yellow and blue tiled roofs, these pavilions add extraordinary grandeur to the grottos. Upon entering Cave 5, an unimaginably enormous cave and Buddha statue reveal themselves before our eyes, dwarfing anyone within its presence. The stark contrast renders the Buddha with unparalleled solemnity. Cave 5 follows the same structural design as the earliest groups of caves, featuring an elliptical plan with a vaulted ceiling. On the cave's main wall, a colossal stone Buddha statue, towering over 17 meters in height, is carved. In front of it lies an open space, sufficient to accommodate 100 people. The seated Shakyamuni Buddha, with both knees a full 15 meters apart and a middle finger of the right hand spanning 2.3 meters, stands as Yungang Grottoes' tallest Buddha statue and ranks among the finest Buddha cave statues nationwide. This 17-meter-tall seated Shakyamuni Buddha was colorfully painted during the Liao and Jin dynasties, radiating brilliance and representing the best preserved painted Buddha statue across the whole Yungang Grottoes. Behind the colossal Buddha, a stylized boat-shaped flame pattern extends to the cave's ceiling, setting off the Buddha's solemn, divine, and magnificent presence. This largest Buddha statue in Yungang Grottoes, commissioned by Emperor Xiaowen as a memorial for his father, perhaps carries within it the turmoil of the emperor's heart. As he ordered the construction of this statue, was he enduring inner struggles, torn between two forces, two emotions? His father, Emperor Xiaowen, like him, lived under the diktat of Empress Dowager Feng. At the age of 13, Emperor Xiaowen had his first child, who would later become Emperor Xiaowen himself. To celebrate the birth, Emperor Xiaowen changed the reign title to Huangxing from Tian'an and named him Hong, signifying greatness. 2 years later, he was proclaimed the Crown Prince, and the Empress Dowager Feng insisted his mother, Consort Li, be executed. Bereft of his mother, the infant Crown Prince was raised by Empress Dowager Feng. When Emperor Xiaowen was 18 years old, conflicts with Empress Dowager Feng saw him forced to abdicate the throne in favor of his son, who, at that time, was merely 5 years old. His father lost the fierce court battle. At the age of 23, he was poisoned to death by Empress Dowager. While constructing the largest statue in the grottos in memory of his father, Emperor Xiaowen must have relived those tragic family events again and again. However, he made a decision to build another cave next to the one dedicated to his father. This cave would be devoted to Empress Dowager Feng and carry a distinctive theme, that of filial piety. In Cave 6, there's a significant stylistic change regarding cave structure. Influenced by Indian stupas, artisans carved a square pillar-like structure in the cave center. Yet, on the Indian-inspired pillar, they incorporated many hand-style carvings. The cave now looks more like a unique stone-carved house than the traditional caves. Empress Dowager Feng, who advocated for a fusion of diverse cultures, must have favored such a style. Emperor Xiaowen intended to use this new combination of Central Plains and Indian cultural elements to present an unparalleled display of filial piety in the cave, dedicated to the woman who was his nominal grandmother and the primary force in the murder of his mother.